Welcome to the Fish North Georgia podcast, where we talk everything fishing here in North Georgia.
Make a cast over that brush pile and bring wolf packs of spotted bass up.
Georgia is blessed with so many of these electric-only lakes.
No, I didn't say that, Danny. Don't be
so,
speculating now.
Okay, guys, we're back, and I've got a very special guest that I think...
Very special.
Very special guest. I think you'll recognize this name, Mr. O'Neal Williams. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Well, I tell you what, we appreciate it, and I'm going to go ahead and blow some smoke.
Oh, boy.
Some smoke around the backside real quick once we get going. I have spent many a Saturday morning going from Dawson County to Wilkes County or to a lake, and it has been your voice and your radio on your radio show on WSB that has kept me awake and safe.
Well, that's a shame. You should stop and call me sometimes. Sometimes it's lonely.
Well, I think I would definitely not be one of the more qualified people to call you. And all that.
Well, I'd let you know right away if you weren't.
Thank you. But I tell you what, I do appreciate it because I have listened to you for years. And the fact that you're sitting across from me right now is just it blows my mind because I didn't expect this.
Well, I'm flattered.
Well, I hope that's enough of the smoke.
Okay.
But I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure indeed.
One of the things we like to do here on this, one of our reasons that we exist is we want people to know the other things about some of the people around here. Everybody knows a little bit about the fishing, and we'll get into the fishing stuff. But we want to know about O'Neal Williams that not everybody gets to know. Sure. So I'm going to throw you a softball question to get us going.
Okay.
And it's really a baseball question.
Oh.
So, in looking you up, you was a hell of a baseball player back in the day.
Well, I had a good season.
A good season. Tell everybody about that season.
Everything fell in.
Fell in, right. I think more than everything fell in. So
it was, I think we played 18 games, high school. I was an injured football player. I got the traditional leg injury when I was a sophomore, so that took me out of sophomore football and ended my football career, and it took me out of junior baseball, junior
like JV
season.
Yeah.
So I only got to play one season.
Okay.
That was the senior season, and it was 18 games, and you can get hot.
Yeah, you can.
For a short period of time, and I just was hot. The middle of that season, listen to this. The middle of that season, after 9 games, I was batting .818.
That's
it's
unheard
dumb,
of.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, everything fell in.
Right.
Seeing eye singles and so on, yeah.
Well, I know that you ended up batting what that year?
567.
567. You played shortstop.
Yes.
And that, for a long time, was the best average that had been recorded in high school baseball in the state of Georgia for a while, right? Or something like that?
For about 40 years, I think.
About 40 years.
Yeah.
And so now you're second?
I don't know. I don't know really. They didn't keep records, for many, many, many years. So I got to claim number one because there wasn't any challenge.
Right.
But now, high school baseball, high school athletes, they're so much better, bigger, faster, stronger. And also they play. I know some high school teams will play 35, 40 games.
Yeah, it's some, and even year round counting the travel ball.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, fall ball, I think they call it. Yeah,
absolutely.
You bet. Yeah, fall ball. So there's some fabulous athletes, and I don't know where 567 falls in there, but
well, it's impressive though for anybody.
It was me.
Ted Williams never made it.
Oh, and he's the best. He's the best hitter ever.
It's the funny thing you say that because my grandfather always told me, he goes, there was never anybody hit a baseball better than Ted Williams.
That is correct. He had 20/10 vision.
Yeah. And I've read where he could read the spin on the ball so quick he could tell you.
And that's right. And he just hit the bottom half of the ball. So it would spin upward and climb instead of spinning down after you hit it. He hit the bottom half.
The bottom half.
Yeah.
The splendid splinter.
You betcha.
So my grandfather was adamant. It didn't matter who was hot these days, and we watched baseball up until he passed away. It didn't matter how good they were. They were never as good as Ted Williams.
That's right. The Major League Baseball, being able to hit, think about it, compared to other sports, if you can hit 300, you're an all-star. Your field goal percentage in professional basketball is in the 50s,
right,
or 500. The quarterback in the NFL can almost have 60%.
Right.
There's nothing like first serve in tennis. What, 75%, 80%? There's nothing like baseball.
Yeah, more failure rate, but you're still great.
That's right.
And you do that for 10 years, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's a fact. And rich.
Well,
Yeah.
I I love baseball, and I saw that when I was doing some research on you, and I just thought that was a great thing. But you did a lot of sports in high school.
Yes, I did
and
them all.
everything.
Uh-huh.
So you wrestled and maybe a little track and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was a sprinter and things of that nature.
Well, okay, so
But I didn't play football after my sophomore year. That was those. Then if you got your leg hurt and you had your cartilage taken out of your knee, which I did, then you're over. I remember the doctor gave me his card when I left the hospital. I stayed in the hospital 2 weeks, and he gave me his card and he said, "You'll be back to see me if you do anything other than caddy playing golf."
Seriously, back then.
Yeah.
2 weeks though in the hospital.
2 weeks.
Be outpatient now, probably.
Oh yeah, that's right. You could leave there in the morning. I had my right knee replaced, that same one. Okay, and I walked out of the hospital that afternoon, recently. Fabulous.
Fabulous. You love
You
that.
bet.
Well, I say all that though. When did you have time to develop a love for hunting and fishing when you were playing all these sports?
I always, just when I was just a little kid, I always loved to go fishing. And my grandparents, my father died. He was a pilot in the Army Air Corps. He died in a crash when I was 6 weeks old. My mother remarried when I was 3 years later, and he was a radio operator on a B-29 and made 25 missions over Japan. He was a hero. Okay?
Absolutely.
But his father, my grandfather on that side, he was a Primitive Baptist minister down in Walton and Rockdale in Walton County.
They were elders.
Yeah, Elder Nash.
I used to go to a Primitive Baptist church. I know
Elder
all
Nash.
about it.
Yeah. Dinner on the ground. Come back in the church for foot washing when you hear. Come back in when you hear singing in the church.
Right hand of fellowship and all that. I grew up and I know.
So being Elder Nash, all the farmers in the county had ponds, and I used to go with him, and we were a formidable duo, really. I mean, he had black wingtip shoes, a vest, and a tie, and a big straw hat and white gloves. He didn't like sun. And the little O'Neill with his rolled-up cuffs and Atlanta Crackers baseball hat.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
We were rained death and destruction on the catfish in those ponds.
That is absolutely awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Atlanta Crackers. That's an old
Crackers.
reference, too.
I played in Ponce de Leon Park.
You're kidding.
Absolutely. In state playoffs when I was a senior in high school.
Unfortunately, not a lot of people these days know the history of the Crackers and all that.
Correct.
They were really Atlanta's first team.
Absolutely.
Far before the Braves.
AAA team. They were a AAA baseball team for the Milwaukee Braves.
Yep.
It was a farm team for the Milwaukee Braves. First pitch I ever saw, first at bat, first pitch I ever saw in Ponce de Leon Park in the state playoffs. I got a triple off the signs in right field.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Now, were you right-handed?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a pretty good pop, though, if you're hitting it that far to right field.
It surprised everybody, including me.
Well, with a high batting average and you playing shortstop, I would have just assumed, because back in the day, a shortstop didn't hit for power and all that. You were just
we had a bunch of that baseball team. We had a bunch of sluggers that were all the same age and got together at the same time.
So it was just the right thing.
Bunch of guys that had played all their lives, and that was just a bunch of sluggers. I'm telling you, we had a great team.
What high school was it? I didn't even
Southwest DeKalb High School out in DeKalb County.
Southwest DeKalb High School. Okay, so you were raised in that area pretty much?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay, so describe for somebody, because I'm sure none of them ponds are around anymore. It's changed so much. Describe that area back in the day, being able to go to these lakes and fish. Was it farmland, I assume? Or
no, not by then. The ponds that my minister grandfather let me go with him, that was out in Walton County. And my other grandfather on my mother's side, we went to Clayton and Lakemont, Georgia every summer. I went with my grandparents, and we fished the Tallulah River and Lake Rabun and Lake Burton. And you fish with a cane pole, just black nylon line. And we'd dig worms out from around the barn.
Right.
Or stop in the woods and you carve out catawba worms or and grubs out of the fallen pine trees, or there was a catawba tree.
Right.
And you scuffle around and get your bait. Now down in Walton County we use chicken livers.
Absolutely. There you go. Yeah. That's how I catch them.
You betcha.
Well, it's funny. Now, when you said black nylon, is that what I used to have a great uncle that said he fished with catgut, and it was that kind of black line. Is that what you're talking about? It was, really, thick, hard.
It was woven nylon.
That's it.
Yeah.
He called it catgut. I don't know why he called it catgut, but I
hadn't
just
heard
remember
that
that.
in a long, long time. Catgut.
Catgut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was.
And the cane poles were in the corner on the porch at my cousin's house. And when I set my cane pole there, when I left in the summer, it was ready for me when I came back the next summer.
That's awesome.
And his name was Winfred McKay.
Winfred McKay.
He was my cousin, and we fished every day. After we got through with our chores, we fed the chickens, the hogs, the cattle. We milked. I never was very good at that.
I don't think a lot of people are. That's a lost art.
I wasn't a good milker.
Okay.
But then we'd go fishing every day, the two of us. He was 12 and I was 10.
So that sounds like the perfect life for a 12 and 10-year-old boy.
Absolutely.
No wonder you like it. I'd do it right now.
Sure, absolutely.
I'll milk your cows. Just let me fish in the afternoon. So
absolutely.
Okay, well, so how did that translate though into hunting as well? Because I know you hunted. So because back then deer hunting's a little different than it is now in Georgia.
Absolutely. Okay. I was a guy that had a BB gun. Mm-hmm. When I went from a daisy cock,
Little Red Ryder,
to a pump.
Right.
That was really hot stuff. I was, that was just a bird hunter, squirrel hunter.
Okay.
But then I got more deeply involved in the fishing after the television show began in the early 80s because advertisers, and that's the key, and we'll talk about that, people who want you to use their product and their brand in the television show, the fishing side, the boat, motor, line, lures, and all that, they'll do that the first half of the year. Maybe into the third quarter, but then they stop. Mm-hmm. So I said,
got to figure something out here.
I need to have a hunting show. And I was doing some hunting, deer hunting, but I need to have a hunting show because what I found out was I walked into a sporting goods store in the third week of February, and the fella came up to me and introduced himself. I love your television show. When is it going to be back on? It had already been back on since the 1st of January. But the fact that I wasn't on in the fourth quarter, he had forgotten me. People forget you in no time.
Yeah.
You're not on the air. Who?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So that meant I had to have a hunting show.
Okay.
And so that's when I went to CVA Muzzle Loaders, and they're still a sponsor of the show.
Right.
After
been a long time.
36 years, I think.
36. But so it wasn't that you hunted that much when you were younger. It was more your hunting became a necessity, a business decision. You liked to hunt, but it was just kind of like that.
I became a more avid and active hunter because of television.
Gotcha.
I had some high school friends who were fishing buddies, but they were also hunters. So I started going with them.
Okay.
In the late 60s.
Okay, so fishing is the foundation of everything.
Yes.
Hunting is
right.
Okay, well, that's good.
Right. There are 60 million men and women over 16 years old who, if you ask them, are you a fisherman? 60 million of them will say yes. The 35 million license holders, or maybe 40 million, but 60 will say, yes, I am a fisherman. It's very well thought of. If you ask that same number of people, are you a hunter, only 12 million will say yes.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I got you. Makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
Makes
so there are
perfect
5
sense.
times more hunters than fishermen, or it's thought of 5 times better. Who knows?
Yeah, there's no telling. Okay, so now we've gone from high school and we're going into Emory. You went to Emory.
Yes.
And you got a degree in economics.
Yes.
Okay. What prompted you to get a degree
I went
in
to Emory to be a doctor.
To be a doctor?
Yeah, I was going to be a doctor. For want of anything else, I wanted to go to Emory. My parents wanted me to go to Emory to be the best I could be. And if someone asked, what are you going to do? Well, I'll be a doctor. I don't know is not the correct answer.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and I was proceeding and into my second year. And so I took a course in economics. And I lived in the fraternity house, and I was the first one up every morning. And back then, you read the Atlanta Journal. No, Constitution was the morning.
Yeah.
Atlanta Constitution. And I can remember opening a page and looking at from the economics class and thinking, I learned this yesterday.
Right.
This is fabulous,
this
man.
suits me.
Oh, yeah. And I understood it.
Right.
And I still do. I don't understand why some people don't. But believe me, you go to Emory and you're going to be a doctor, you're competing with the Jewish boys. They set the curve. Okay?
Absolutely.
And they're great. Now,
Yes.
believe me, I had a lot of friends of the Jewish faith. They're fabulous. Achievers. They study. They're just great. Okay?
Gotcha.
But they set the curve, and I was at the bottom. So anyway, that became economics became my thrill.
Your thrill. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you use that after you graduated? Did you get a job using that degree, or
Not really. I was just a degreed.
you just liked it?
Yeah,
That was something.
I had. Let's see. I had offers from back then CNS Bank, the Coca-Cola Company. Coca-Cola kind of stockpiled Emory grads. Okay.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
And I wanted to be separate. I didn't want to go to the office every day. And so there was a company that I interviewed at Emory. They came over at Emory, and it was Oscar Mayer.
Okay, I love them hot dogs.
You bet.
I love them.
And I knew that then from the very first day I was going to be out on the road selling to grocery stores and grocery store headquarters. I said, man, that's for me.
That way you're not cooped up in an office and all that.
That's right. I'm on the road.
Now, did you get to fish and hunt during your college years, or were you so busy that it kind of...
No. When you were at Emory, you're focused.
Yeah.
You need to study.
That's a good school, so I didn't think there'd be a lot of time. And they don't have fishing teams like they do nowadays.
No.
You could have started the
Quite
Emory,
correct.
the Emory
Now,
fishing team.
I
back
did.
then.
I used to, when you're young, you can stay up all night. And I used to leave Emory at like 10 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night and drive to Lake Lanier and fish all night for largemouth bass at Holiday Marina, just around the banks and the docks and everything. And then come back the next day and go to class.
You know what's funny about that is you put Lake Lanier and largemouth bass in the same sentence, and nowadays that doesn't go
No,
together.
spotted bass is a different story.
Spotted bass
And
is
stripers,
it is. So, talk about fishing Lanier a little bit back in those days compared to what people do now. I mean, it had to be so much different.
Yeah, I had a good friend. My father was not a fisherman or a hunter, but I had a good friend. His name is Jeff Hobbins, and we were summertime fishermen. We made our summertime money, which is another subject. We made our summertime money fishing in the local catfish ponds. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you that. But his dad was kind enough. They had a boat. And Jeff and his dad, Mr. Hobbins, you would take me to Lake Lanier with them. And I can remember we started fishing Lake Lanier when it backed up. That was 1957, and I was 13 years old.
Okay, yeah, that's back in the day now.
Oh, yeah. And I can remember saying, oh, look, there's another boat on a Sunday.
It just wasn't the tourist destination that it is now.
No, Lanier's still the number one most visited Corps of Engineers lake in North America.
That's what I hear, like 11 million people or so.
Yeah, something like that. It's
just millions.
It's too sad. But Lake Lanier's changed. It's a different lake, but it became a new lake about 8 years ago when people brought over the blueback herring. Yeah.
And why do you think the spotted bass have blowed up so much better with the bluebacks compared to largemouth? Why just
because
the nature of the fish?
Because the bluebacks and the spotted bass share the same water temperature.
Okay, that's good.
The spotted bass and threadfin share a different water temperature. So back then, in tournament days, you'd bring in 10 spots. That way, you could be in the top 5 with 10 spots that weighed 14 pounds. Now the professionals, because spots have something to eat. They've got bluebacks.
Right.
They have something to eat now.
Footballs.
So 5 spots now wins 25 pounds.
Yeah, they're huge.
5 pound average.
They're huge.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The lake record for spotted bass is 8 pounds and 1/2 ounce.
It's amazing.
It's a giant.
That is a giant. I can't even imagine hooking a spot that big.
Yeah. He's a great fish.
What's the biggest one you ever caught, Bill?
6 pounds, 9 ounces.
6 pounds, and that was out of Lanier,
Nope, it was out of Lake Martin over in Alabama. Uh-huh.
Okay, I did not know Lake Martin was a big spotted bass. Like
It mixes up differently than Lanier. Lanier is a clear mountain lake. Mm-hmm. Lake Martin is a lowland lake like Sinclair.
Okay, that would be our Lake Martin in Georgia, Sinclair. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you think Sinclair though? You don't think spots there? Do they have spots in Sinclair?
You bet.
Really? Well, that's South Georgia. I haven't got to covering that yet.
You bet.
Okay, so you're fishing it during Emory, doing this. At what point did you say, okay, now I'm working with Oscar Mayer, I'm doing this. I think I'm gonna get in this fishing and radio. How did that come about?
Okay, well,
because that's what you're known for.
Yeah. I've always been a big mouth, and I've always had friends. And I had Charles Salter was a friend of mine who used to be the fishing writer for the AJC. Okay. And a local. This was when cable first began, about 1980, and there was a local producer. His name was Steve Hines, and Steve telephoned Charles Salter and said, I want to do a local interview show taped and put it on Comcast. Prime cable is what it was then.
Okay.
And Charles said, I'm not capable about that, but I know who he is.
I know. I got the perfect mouth for you. Is that
that's
the way
basically, yeah.
I got the person you need.
And so that's how it started. It was a 15-minute interview show on tape. It was called the Metro Channel Sports Fishing Report, and that was 1980 or 81 or something like that.
So you're like almost pre-MTV days.
Oh yeah, I mean we had a grand total. There was, I called everybody I knew. There must have been 40 or 50 people watching that show.
Oh, that's kind of like that's kind of like us now, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So that's about 1980, 1981. Mm-hmm. When did you realize, what, this is what I want to do for a living? Or or that I can make a living doing this.
Oh, not till the early 90s.
Oh, okay. So it just took a while.
Well, it took a long time for me to finally say this deserves all of my attention.
Okay.
It's time for
so
me.
It was splitting time.
It's time for me to quit working elsewhere and just do this.
Okay.
And it just exploded
at that point when you
Yeah.
put your undivided attention. So for about 10 years, you were still working with Oscar
Oh,
Mayer,
yeah.
or
Oscar Mayer. I was the last job I had. I was the Eastern Regional Sales Manager for ConAgra Poultry Company.
okay.
So
So you think you made the right
and
decision?
I got fired.
Oh, you got why?
Interesting. I got fired, and I had increased. I was the sales manager, and I had increased the volume of the brand in the United States on the East, my area of responsibility. I had increased it 100% per year for 4 years, and I got fired. And this is a puzzle now. So
If you're going to do math, don't you?
yeah,
Okay.
I said, I'm going to wait a week and settle down, and I'm going to telephone my sales manager and ask him why I got fired.
Okay.
And I did that. And he said, are you sitting down? And yes, I am. You got fired because you made it look too easy.
There you go. That's a new one.
I had an outdoor show, and I was in the bodybuilding competition and had lost a bunch of weight, and I was in the Mr. Atlanta, and I had already started a radio program, so they just didn't think I was giving them any attention. My opinion was, what difference does it make?
You got your 100%. What's the
You
matter?
got 100% of you. I smashed everyone else's figures, even my own.
And they didn't like
I was number one, not even close to anyone else, but I got fired.
it. So you're the best chicken salesman on the East Coast or whatever.
By far.
That's
I loved it when
See, I didn't even know you did that.
company had never done business with the Kroger company. Kroger at the time, and still they're second now to Walmart. Otherwise, they're the biggest grocery company in the United States, biggest chain.
Right.
And I can remember telling my sales manager, national sales manager, I'm going to go after Kroger. Well, you can if you want to, but we've never been successful, and you won't, but you can do it. Got my first order in 2 weeks. It was 15 million pounds.
That's too good. That's too easy, though. You got to make it
It's
look
too
harder.
easy. Got to make it look harder.
You got to make it look harder.
I never have gotten over that. That was a real crusher.
That'd be.
Really.
I'd love to. Mr. Williams, you got fired because you're too good.
Yeah, exactly. That's his words were, you made it look too easy.
I can't even follow a question.
That's exactly
after that.
right, yeah.
Who gets fired for doing their job?
So I better do this television thing and try to make it work.
I got you.
And the radio show had already started. The radio I was told that the radio show wouldn't work either.
Well, it's still around. How many years is it going on now?
I started at WGST in 1990, early 1990. Mm-hmm. And I was on this. This is great. I started WGST. When the first time I went to the guy, his name is Eric Seidel. Fabulous, brilliant. He started Clark Howard, Neil Bortz, Sean Hannity, O'Neill. You can all the name of the people that he's got in radio. Oh,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Georgia Radio Hall of Fame, of which I'm a member, and I'm proud of that. And I can remember calling on him, and he's listening to me, and because I said, fishermen just can't stop talking, obviously.
Right.
And so I said, this will work. Let me do some research, and you call me back. So I call back, and he says, well, we've looked into it, and we don't think it's any good. I said, well, obviously, I need to visit with you and change your mind. When can I come back? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I walk in, he looks over his glasses. I give up. You can have Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock for 2 hours. And
just leave me
it
alone.
was awful. Yeah,
just
it was
leave me
awful.
alone. You got it. Get out.
Get out of here. And so I had a share of the sponsor money. Okay, I had one sponsor that was a gift. It was Georgia Power Company. So Gail and I went to WGST every Sunday evening at 5 o'clock and did a radio show. We made $15, which we spent at the varsity.
Right.
Okay. And
what do you have?
But then I said, okay, if I'm going to get a share of the revenue, I need to sell the show. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not sure we want you out there representing us. You can't represent WGST. We'll sell it. Of course they didn't.
Right.
And so I had an opportunity to go to WSB, and I said, can I sell the show? Sure.
Go make it worth some money. Right
You betcha, and I did.
Did you make it look too easy?
Huh? I signed a long-term contract, and I own the distribution rights for the show, and that's on 112 stations. And I tell that when I give a seminar or whatever, the first person said no. Now it's the largest live outdoor-based radio talk show in the world.
That's incredible.
Fire away, man.
Well, we can just end it right there because that's just a success story. But you're going to have to forgive me, though. I got to go back for just a second.
Okay, sure.
Because you said bodybuilding. Come on, that's on your Wikipedia. I got to ask.
It's pure ego. Okay. It's pure ego. I was working out at a gym, and it was a bodybuilder's gym.
Uh-huh.
It was not a spa.
Okay.
You couldn't get a tan, and you couldn't. There wasn't a steam room.
All right. So
so
you're actually working out.
Train.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
Okay. And the owner of a gym like that, he stands to be better or well thought of if he has a lot of people who enter the bodybuilding competitions. So he talked me into entering as a senior. I was 43. And he talked me into entering, and I, with an exploding ego, I started losing weight, and I lost from 207 pounds to 166 pounds. I lost 41 pounds, and I finished third. It was pure ego, standing up in front of people almost naked.
I was going to say, was you in a Speedo?
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't a thong, okay?
Good. That was my next one.
It wasn't a thong, but it was small.
It was small, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, so far, we got the primitive Baptist part in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Like.
Good.
So that's
good.
part of my thing.
It's a balance.
It is,
Yeah.
and we got the baseball, and you were supposed to be a doctor, and,
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't, and we worked with Oscar Mayer, and somewhere in there you're a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So you've done a little bit of everything.
Isn't it something, isn't it?
And see, that's what I find interesting is because I don't think too many people know that. I'd like, you got pictures. You got pictures of? Is it on the internet somewhere of you bodybuilding?
Yes, but Gail won't let me.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So
That's too self-centered.
Are they in a vault somewhere up? Up
They're in the
cabin?
computer at home.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I asked about that in the last couple of days. I said, "You think it would be okay?" Because I do a lot of stuff on Facebook. I'll ask, "What's the hottest day you ever? Or what's the coldest hunt you've ever
Yes,
been on?"
yeah, I've been noticing.
Did you
yes,
see that?
Absolutely, yeah.
And personal stuff. So I asked Gail just the other day, "Is it too personal for me to put that photo of me at 166 pounds with my little third place trophy and everything, and it's a very flattering picture. Is it okay for me to put that on Facebook and tell that story?" No.
Please go back and ask her.
No, she won't let
Please
me.
just tell her. Let her listen to this first. It's Gail, right?
Yes.
Well, you call her Woman Williams, right?
Yes.
That's how you do
and there's
that?
a story behind that, too.
Okay. Well, I'll call her Miss Gail. So
Okay,
you can
all
call
right.
her Woman Williams.
No, she hadn't missed anything. It's Gail.
It's Gail.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's Gail.
So if Gail listens, Gail, please let him for Fish North Georgia put that picture on. Just please. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't think. Thank you, but I don't think she's going to let me.
Okay, so why do you call her Woman Williams?
When we first started shooting back there in the early '80s, I had a producer. It looked a lot like this producer over here in the shadows.
Yeah.
His name was Steve Hines. It was his idea, and he was the one. You heard that story. But the cameraman was a black guy by the name of Rembert Brown.
Okay.
And he was a fabulous cameraman. Okay, imaginative, because mostly he was stoned. Okay, so that
All
he was
right,
really
there you go.
imaginative.
I bet.
He's deceased now. He graduated, I
understand.
And but Rembert could not bring himself to call her Gail.
Just
It's too respectful. He couldn't. I can't do that. Woman Williams, and that's one word.
Woman Williams.
Woman Williams is one word.
Cannot pause. Okay, Woman
Right,
Williams.
Woman Williams. Mhm.
And so that's from.
So that came from Rembert Brown.
Rembert
and
Brown.
surprisingly enough, quite surprisingly, on the radio show, I have the radio prize package. Mm-hmm. And the radio prize package is hats and things like that. And I always ask a question. It's not who hit the first home run in Yankee Stadium. It's something you can't look up on the computer. The only way you'll know is you have to be listening to the show.
Yes.
It's a reward for the listener.
It is.
Okay. And I have asked people before, where did she get that name? And people get the right answer.
Get the right answer.
Rembert Brown.
I have been going down the road, and you've asked that. You've had that question, and
I've run out of questions.
Well, you haven't asked that. I mean, just the question, and I'm like, I know, but I'm driving. I'm going. So okay, but yeah, I'm well aware of that. But that's a cool little story that he just couldn't do.
He couldn't do it.
Woman Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Woman Williams. Okay. Well, Woman Williams, please put the picture on Facebook.
Okay.
So, all right. So now that you're on the radio and all that, how did it feel to, I guess, when you went full time, and you are making a living at it, to watch your show grow, because you said it exploded once you put your undivided attention.
Correct.
Kind of tell us a little bit about the rise and what you had to do to make that happen. Because I imagine it wasn't just as easy as saying, okay, I'm going to do it full time. You had to put some work in it.
Well, the fishing and hunting's the easy part. That's a piece of cake, nothing to it. I mean, I can put your show on the air tomorrow. Who's going to pay for it?
There you go.
So you have to call on enough people to pay the cameraman, to pay him to edit the program, to buy the time. You'd have to buy the time on the networks. Now you can send your show to YouTube and they'll just run it.
Right.
Okay. Great. Okay. But back in the 90s and early 2000s, you had to purchase that time. And you get to keep 8 30-second spots. You get to keep the opening and 8 30-second spots in the show. And you pay a lot of money to be on Discovery or Destination America or whatever oh my goodness, Outdoor Channel.
Yeah.
Outdoor Channel then was $7,000 a week.
So you would pay them $7,000 a week, get your show on there, and then for it to be profitable, you had to go sell more advertising than that $7,000.
And pay for the production.
And pay for the production and
Correct.
everything. So that kind of gives everybody an idea how it works. Then, at least that's how it worked then.
And now still works a little bit of the same, but the networks don't charge nearly as much money. They used to really charge a lot of money. But now, see, like Outdoor Channel has MOTV, My Outdoor TV, okay?
Right.
And it's free. You pay them, what, $10 a month? And then you get to watch all the shows you want, and they don't have any commercials.
It's changed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's changed. When did you start filming that? Was it before the TV show was before the radio?
Yes.
It was before the radio.
By about 10 years.
By about 10 years. Okay, and so what kind of content did you have on at the beginning? Just
mostly
fishing?
The fishing for the first 2 quarters or the first 3 quarters, and I fished on the weekends, and I would fish locally, Lanier and Jackson, and I would fish the river systems, and occasionally would go up into Tennessee and East Tennessee and fish those lakes up there, and into Alabama, Guntersville, whew, good lake.
Of all the lakes that you fished, what's your favorite lake, and why?
Favorite lake right now would still be Lake Lanier because you catch largemouth, spotted bass, and stripers all in the same lake. Okay, there's some private places. Look, I'm just an average fisherman, but I get to go to some great places.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
The best bass fishing lake that I've ever been on is a private. Well, it's open. You can buy your way and fish a day. It's called the Kingfisher Society. It's in Laurel Hill, North Carolina. It's a very unusual set of circumstances whereby the water, it's only 130 acres, but the water, it's never, in your experience, sometimes when a pond gets old, it's all you can catch is little bass like this. It's a pond.
Right.
This lake will never be a pond because of the water acidity. So whatever you do to it, it stays that way. And they care for it, and they look after it. It's the last time I fished it, I caught 20 over 5 pounds in one day. Largemouth.
Now, are we artificial or we?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a trophy lake.
Yeah. It's a trophy lake. Biggest bass I ever caught weighed 8. The lake record is 12, and they have 50 feeders that make a big golf ball size feeder toss that comes out of those feeders. So those fish eat all day, every day. They're huge. But, I mean, think about that for a second. I caught 50 over 5 pounds in one day. I know the first day I went out with the owner, a great fella, an ex-preacher, so he could communicate very well.
Right.
And I said, well, let's go out at 2 o'clock on an afternoon on a summer day. Let's go out at 2 o'clock, and you and I can develop some communication skills. So I know what you mean. You know what you need to spend a few minutes. You just don't get in the boat and go fishing,
right,
with the camera. And we started at 2 o'clock, and I said, after a couple of hours fishing, then we'll be able to start the show. But the cameraman can proceed. And at 4 o'clock, we had caught 80 over 2 pounds in 2 hours. You catch a fish almost every cast.
That would be nice. We need that this Saturday for a tournament.
That's exactly right. The the offshoot is the bluegill are gigantic because the largemouth eat the spawn every year. Mm-hmm. So the mature bluegill, not hybrids, the mature bluegill get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Lake record's 3.5 pounds.
Really? Now that I'd like to hook into. Because the reality is
You're talking about a brim that big.
Right. That's a football.
Yeah.
My favorite fishing to this day, regardless of what I do, is still brim fishing with a pencil float.
Yeah.
Little gold hook and a cricket, and just watching that. I don't think there's nothing more beautiful than to watch that thing.
Well, that's what they say.
That's
That's what they say. The most beautiful sight in the world is the hole in the water where the court used to be.
Absolutely, and that is true though.
Absolutely,
because that's something you can do. It's beautiful when you're 5 years old. It's beautiful when you're 90 years old.
I tell people, take a kid fishing, and you don't have to catch a world's record. A 2-inch pumpkin seed brim is just fine. Mm-hmm. Just go. Leave your cell phone or turn it off, put it in your pocket, just for safety reasons maybe that you take it anyway.
Right.
The little kid doesn't care. He just wants to go. It's the 2 of you or the 3 of you that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember those days with my grandparents. And I learned about their stories going through the Great Depression. My grandfather was an orphan at five children. He was an orphan at 10. He ran away when he was 13, and he finally told me one day that when he ran away, he was in North Georgia, he had icicles hanging off of his hat, and all of his possessions were in his coat pocket. And he went to work at a logging camp when he was 14 years old, staying in a barracks with a bunch of guys who cut down trees for a living.
Probably rough. Some rough individuals.
Oh, yeah. He was a tough guy.
Wow.
So but see, we went fishing together.
Exactly.
I caught a warmouth brim with him when I was 11 years old.
That's fantastic. And that's one of the reasons we do. That should be more important, that memory and that was created that day.
It is.
Than any other thing you can do fishing.
Absolutely.
Because you can that can't be taken away from you.
No, sir, it's mine.
That is awesome. And that's one of the reasons we love talking to people like you about the stories like that. So I mean, it's a lost thing these days, getting kids to go fishing. Everybody is just too dang busy.
That's right.
And they're missing out on it.
Absolutely. They need to go fishing because it's the two of you together, no one else. And you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to catch bass or a striper. Catch a brim from around the dock. It's all right. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the best things I've heard, and I love the story. But yeah, I can remember catching fish with my grandfather.
Sure.
And one of the things that my partner over there loves to discuss is the why people fish. What makes you, after all these years, still want to go fishing? And it's got to be memories like that, just things like that are ingrained in your.
Yes.
In your heart and in your soul and all that.
It's and it's too what determines the value of the trip. You have to, as I said, go to Laurel Hill and catch 50 over 5 pounds, or go to a local pond and catch 2 little catfish. They're the same.
Yeah.
I can remember with Elder Nash, I would cut forked sticks and put them out in front of us, and we used chicken livers, and we were really good. Okay, Zebco 33s.
Oh, you got my heart right there.
And Johnson's, and I went to a Johnson Century once, and that was a good reel. You know why Zebco is called a Zebco?
I have no idea.
Are you ready for the story? We got time for this?
We got all day.
Okay. There was a guy named R.D. Hull. It's 1935, and you probably may remember when you went back then when you went to a meat market and you bought a roast or steak or whatever, they wrapped it in paper and tied it with string.
Yes.
Okay, the string came off of a spool like this. And he said, I think I can make a reel that will do that. And he took it around to several people, and nobody wanted it. So he went from Fort Worth, Texas, up to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they decided they would make that reel. And there's been 80 million of them sold. And that company's name that made the Zebco was before World War II, and it was called the Zero Hour Bomb Company. Zebco.
There you go. I did not know that. That's some good stuff right there.
You bet.
Now, I will say this. I like the old Zebco 33s that had the screw. That you remember what I'm talking about? You could take a nickel or a dime, and my dad would fish with nothing but a Zebco 33 growing up. So that's all we ever had.
Yeah.
Now, I did get the Johnson. I got 2 of them at home, and I kind of put them up because they're so old. Those are the ones that would cast a mile.
Oh, yeah.
Those green ones.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
That's right.
Yeah. So I remember taking a pencil. I got those. I felt like I graduated because you didn't even have to put weight on your cricket. And you throw that thing 500 yards out of the other side of the thing.
6-pound test line.
6-pound test line, just shwoom. And you can just sit it down and wait a second. It might hit the water in another 5 minutes. But, yeah, those were awesome. That is a part of my childhood. Just growing up in Forsyth County on a 1-acre pond was Zebco 33s and Johnson. And, again, I still harp on it, though. I think that's something that's missing today.
Sure it is. Especially think about what's the divorce rate in the United States? 51%?
It's up there, yeah.
Okay. So even if you've got, like Mr. Hobbins took me with him, with Rick, okay, there's might be a kid in the neighborhood whose dad doesn't go fishing or his dad doesn't live at home. Invite him to go with your son or grandson. Get him involved also. It's funny that after, we got time for
We got all the time.
Right.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Rick and I used to fish at a place called Parker's Pond, which was Columbia Drive over in the Stone Mountain area. Okay, and we were pretty good at it. And what we would do when we get there on a Saturday morning, we didn't work at Kroger or anything like that. We fished, and Rick was an outstanding outdoorsman. And we would get there early, stake us out a spot, and we would buy Green Giant whole kernel corn, cans of it, and we would scatter it out in front of us. Okay,
Chumming it up.
chumming them up. And after in this pond, it was $1 to fish all day. And in this pond, by the time the sun got up really good, we had every fish in the lake right in front of us. So I would go around the lake and tell people, now, if you need any fish before you leave, my friend and I are right over there, and you just come and see us, and we'll see to it that we'll sell you some fish.
Right.
And most of them were really nice. Oh, we'll catch our fish. Thanks for asking. Some of them would get away from here, you little punk. I'll catch my own fish.
Right.
And that same person at 5 o'clock that afternoon would be standing behind me saying, "I'll take the next one."
Right. Absolutely.
Oh man. And then you know what I do for a living? And Rick spent his whole career with Browning firearms.
Okay.
So we were selling our fish our whole lives.
That's incredible. See, and again, I wish that was more common these days. It just stories like that.
Yep. Things
So,
change.
It does change. It's a shame. That's great stuff. I asked you your favorite lake. How about your favorite episode you ever recorded on a lake? Do you remember that, or just a trip that you took that was just beyond compare? It doesn't have to necessarily be in Georgia.
I don't know. By now it would be a time in which I took someone and they really got a kick out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you get to take a lot of people fishing these days?
No, not anymore. But mostly that's personal. I would, if I took my grandson Travis, who eventually became part of the show.
Right.
He's an outstanding angler and an outstanding hunter. He's a better hunter than he is a fisherman.
And he guides in Oklahoma now,
He's
right?
in Oklahoma, up in the Panhandle of Texas. He lives in a house up there. His nearest neighbor's 3 miles, and he looks after cattle all day, and he works 7 days a week. And I think last year he and his group of outfitters right there, the outfitting company, I think they took 235 turkeys.
Really?
In the season. Of course, those are Rios. It's not like the Eastern. You know, the Eastern hurt your feelings. He'll make your lips pooch out.
Okay, because that's all it ever does to me. I'm not a very good turkey hunter.
A Rio come out and eat out of your hand.
Oh, okay. All right, so it's not okay.
That's a different story.
Okay.
The Eastern, oh man,
Yeah, I know.
disappoint you.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. I thought I had him.
I don't know how many times, and I'm not a good turkey hunter. Not a good fisherman, but I'm really not a good turkey hunter. I don't know how many times I've had one actually answer me. The heart gets pounding.
Oh yeah.
And then it's just like he never calls me back. He'll get like 100 yards. Like, he's coming. And then
He already saw you.
yeah, I guess so.
He saw movement.
Well,
He saw
I told
movement,
you I was not good.
or he saw the decoy. And if once he sees the decoy, that decoy business for me is about a 50-50 deal. Because see, once he sees the hen, unless there's a Jake decoy next to that hen, he's going to say, "Come on over with me, honey."
He expects her to come.
That's right. The eastern wild turkey is the number one big game animal in North America.
Really?
Would you like to know why?
Absolutely. Let's
Okay.
go.
All right. You'd have to be an expert at or practiced at a combination of items, if you will, or talents than any other single animal. Now think about this for a second. You call and you get a response. Now, where does that happen other than ducks will call back?
Right.
Okay. You call, you get a response. You have to be fully camoed.
That's
Okay.
for sure.
You absolutely cannot move. And you just don't, like a duck, you just don't shoot at a duck, or you just don't shoot at a turkey. You have to shoot him precisely, or else he'll run off and he's food for wildcats. And then lastly, you take him out of his normal processes.
You got to make him act against his instincts to come to you.
Right.
You know,
There's no set of circumstances for bear, elk, mule deer, whitetail, antelope, nothing. That's those 5 sets.
Yeah, and I've heard if they could smell, you'd never kill them.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, of all the things that you have fished, hunted for, or anything, is that your favorite, or what would
That's
be
the biggest challenge.
the biggest challenge is turkey hunting to you?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Now, how about on the fishing side? What's the biggest challenge you ever had trying to catch anything?
Snook, or as they would say in the Everglades, snook.
Snook.
Yeah, they call them snook.
Now, did you do that with a fly rod, or you just
No, I'm not a fly guy. I really am not. Before I got into it, I've had both shoulders operated on, and that after a few minutes of that, I have to stop.
I got you. So Henry hasn't converted you yet?
No, and I make fun of Henry. So,
have you ever tried though what he does with the stripers on Lanier?
no, I have not. He'll hurt my feelings.
Oh, I'm sure he will. But it's a bucket list item. For us to,
absolutely.
like that. And to hear him even talk about doing it for carp in downtown Atlanta.
Yes, he does.
Now that's okay. It blew my mind.
It's a dough ball fly.
A dough ball fly. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what I can remember going to Lanier to camp. Back in the days, a lot of people would camp, and I guess there's still a few open, but every bait store had that old dough ball stuff in it. You just throw it out on the bottom, and
That's right.
of course, the brim ate it all up before, But
Yeah, if you put some early times in there, it helps.
okay, is that
If you make your own, we used to make our own dough balls. Put some cotton in it and everything, and a little early times.
Early times.
Yeah.
Okay, there's our Fish North Georgia tip of the week there. So if you get that, but snook, what was it about snook? Snook.
He's selective. Mm-hmm. You have to make a perfect cast, okay? And you can catch him with a down bait or a surface bait. But if you can get him to bite, he is like a nuclear largemouth.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Just the power and
It's
the
like
speed.
jump in front of the boat, and all of a sudden he jumps on the other side of the. He's a nuclear largemouth.
Nuclear largemouth. That's a good way to describe a fish. I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, he's something.
And that would be your favorite.
I would say that was the most difficult game fish, probably. Let's put it that way. That you would cast to.
Okay.
Okay. And you're not going to get him to bite two times either. You miss him the first time, that's it.
That's it. You got one shot.
That's right. Well, and two, I'm just a regular fisherman. I'm not a pro snook guy or a pro bass guy or anything.
You just like
I
to do
used
it
to
all.
win some bass tournaments, but they weren't against Bill Dance. Friend, I told my wife the other night, because we were talking about Bill Dance. We were talking about what I had put on the Facebook page about who would you I put on the Facebook, who would you like to spend lunch or have a telephone call with?
I saw that one.
Okay.
Yep.
And Dance is just like he is on television.
Okay. That's
He's
good.
funny.
Right.
That's just Bill, okay? And we were talking about, and I was telling Gail the other night, because she said, you have a great appreciation for Bill Dance. And I said, yes, I do. And I got to remind me, I got another story about Bill.
I will.
And that is, I think I'm correct in the following. The first BASS sanctioned tournaments, the first 10, okay? I think 4 of those first 10 were team tournaments. The other ones were individual tournaments. And out of those first 10 tournaments, the name that appears on the first place trophy is Bill Dance. He can catch them.
So it ain't
I think the best tournament fisherman that ever lived was Roland Martin. But Bill started off with a bang. Did you know how he's a professional fisherman instead of what he intended to be?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Bill was 18 years old. He was headed to medical school. That was his intent. And his dad was a physician, as his grandfather was a physician. They're both in Memphis, Tennessee. And Bill came up at 17, 18 years old. He came upon a rather grisly motorcycle wreck in Memphis and decided he couldn't do that.
That's not for me.
Yeah. But he did have a local television show, and a fellow by the name of Jim Bagley was a sponsor, and he said, why don't we put this on television, and I'll sponsor it. And that was the beginning of the Bill Dance Outdoors.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And is that your other Bill Dance story, or is that you still got?
Let's see, what was the other Bill Dance story?
Because I was going, I don't want to leave it on that.
Oh, my goodness.
Bill Dance was what I grew up watching. I watched Roland Martin and all them. So
Fabulous, fabulous.
While you're thinking, how do you think like Roland and Bill would compete against today's guys with today's technology?
They wouldn't have the energy that today's technology affords, nor the.
It's just the
have you ever been around a professional tournament?
Yeah.
And watched them? Yes. How many casts they make?
Oh, it's amazing. It's work.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get a hook in the back of your hand, you just clip it off and put it down and make another cast.
Yeah.
They couldn't keep up with that energy level. But as far as knowledge and so forth, but you got to remember too, how often it has been that somebody wins Bass Angler of the Year, and you never hear from them again because they're on the road doing shows and appearances. They stop fishing. Mm-hmm. You got to fish all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I told you. Did we record the story about Davy Height?
I don't know if we did, but let's do it
All
again.
right, well,
even if we did.
I fished with Davy Height one day. Davy's been Bass Angler of the Year a couple of times. He's won the Bassmasters Classic. He's a class act all the way. No ego whatsoever. And we were fishing in a lake together. The water temperature was 42. Air temperature was 24, and we were using mop jigs. Now, with that set of circumstances, it's like you might say, I think I got a bite.
Right.
Okay. I was in the front of the boat, so I was throwing to shallow targets, and he was in the back of the boat throwing to shallow targets. And I got first shot at everything. Okay? I caught 2 and he caught 5.
So
he's 2.5 times better than me. At least.
At least. Well, I know that feeling.
Yeah. They're better. They fish all the time,
Right.
So they're just better.
Well, and just some people, it's natural for them. They can. We've got guys even on the electric only that can go into a lake and just wear you out.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can go right in front of them. They'll come up right behind you and just catch every fish that you didn't and just smile and take your money. And,
That's exactly right.
But, my wife, you're talking about the shape and how much they do. I go home after one of these little 7 to 3s, on a reservoir over here, and I'm just whipped.
Yeah.
And my wife has no sympathy for me.
Okay.
I'm old. Now, I can imagine 4 days straight in a professional tournament where
man.
them guys are really.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't make it past day one.
I think the following is true. About 5 years ago, there was an FLW at Lake Lanier. It was a 4 or 5 day tournament, and the guy and a young man won. Hadn't heard about him since. It's another one of those examples. But he had an amazing deep water spotted bass catch, and he won. And he won like $500,000 or something like that. It was phenomenal.
Right.
He fished every day on that lake for a year before the tournament began.
So he just set himself up for that one success, but it didn't translate to nothing else.
Well, not that I know of.
That you know of.
Yeah.
Why come you didn't really stick with the tournaments? Just not your cup of tea, or?
I had family, man.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I was just in local tournaments. I never fished any big tournaments.
So you never had the desire to try to go for it,
no,
even as much as you
I
loved
wasn't
it?
good enough. I'm just an average angler.
Okay,
So,
average angler with unimaginable opportunities, though, that you
make the most of them. Yeah.
So what would be the craziest place you've ever fished? Out of the country, something like that, or?
Yeah, probably. I at someone's insistence and contributions. One time, I went to Argentina and fished the portions of the Amazon and Lake. I've forgotten the name of the lake for peacock bass.
Okay, now peacock bass. I hear that's something we all should do at least once.
Yeah, that once is enough. Yeah, once.
Why is that?
Well, he's dumb as a post. You reel up, and you can leave your lure in the water and swing it back and forth in front of him, and he'll watch it go by and then bite it.
So catching it's easy, but I heard they fight really good.
Oh yeah, it's a game fish, and he's beautiful.
Just stupid.
And he's just dumb as he's dumb as a post.
Okay, all right. Well, that might be right up my alley.
That's right.
I might
And
need
you got,
some of those.
it was interesting because you had the piranhas and that fish with the fangs that go up through his upper nose.
I've seen the pictures.
It's
of those.
it was an adventure.
An adventure.
Yeah.
Now I oppose that's something to do once and that's it.
That was enough for me.
enough
It's
for
a long
you.
way down there, man.
It is a long way down there. So you ever fished in Europe anywhere or anything like that? Or?
No. Have I? No.
Haven't.
No.
Okay. If you could pick one place that you've never fished before, before the Lord comes, I want one place I could go fish. Where would it be? That's a tough one, ain't it? Because I got so many.
Probably maybe stream fishing in Alaska. I've never done the salmon fishing in Alaska.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be probably
Something like that.
something like that.
Now, do you like to trout fish?
Yeah, I like locally here
Right up by your cabin, you got some places up there.
well,
you get to
the
go?
the Amicalola River's close by, but
Right.
to me, the number one mountain trout stream on the whole east coast of the United States is the Soquel River near Clarksville.
Oh yeah, we've seen some nice pictures come out of there.
Oh boy.
Now is that one of them where the average guy gets some opportunities? You've been in there, a
Yeah,
time or
at
two?
about $700 a day.
So you didn't get in on your name, huh? Come on.
Me? Oh
Yeah.
well, I have to have somebody with me.
Is that
as
how
a
it
guest?
is? As a guest?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do get to go, and I'm going to go back this year. I do go up into the Manitoba Ontario kind of border. There, it's a place called Carroll Lake Lodge. You have to fly in, and it's in a provincial park, and it's like going to Yellowstone and going fishing there. But this place, the nearest dirt road is 30 miles.
Oh, so when you're in, you're in.
Yeah, that's it. You're there. But I mean, how many you want to catch? You want to catch 10 or 100? It's up to you. How many do you want to catch?
Right.
And of course, being from Georgia up there, they say, what do they look after you. You don't have to have guides. You're on your own, but you don't, you don't need any help.
Right.
What do you want for breakfast? Well, eggs and walleye. What do you want for lunch? French fries and walleye. What do you want for dinner? I'll have walleye and anything you got.
But now, I have never had walleye, but I hear
Oh.
it's the best.
It is, absolutely.
And I hear that from a lot of people.
Absolutely.
You got to eat walleye.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Now, like, do you eat pickled walleye and stuff like that?
I don't eat anything pickled.
The reason
No.
I said that, I watched a YouTube video the other night,
Oh,
and
that's a shame.
the guy was pickling walleye with onions and stuff, and I was just like, I may try that.
I'll pass on the pickles.
You'll pass on the pickle stuff. Well, I bring up the food thing because I know that you do a lot with the Big Green Egg.
Yes.
Like that, and they're one of your sponsors and all that. But aside of that, I like watching people cook stuff and how they do. So I imagine you've got to and you probably have some great recipes on how to cook fish.
Yes.
On the Big Green Egg. So is that for the show, or do you really genuinely like that?
The Big Green Egg is one of a kind. I mean, the being able to, but there's a set of circumstances that goes with that egg. Okay.
Okay.
That you have to. You don't put charcoal briquettes on it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
That's got glue in it and it's got lighter in it. No, you use authentic hardwood Big Green Egg. It's hickory and oak and hickory.
Okay. So no additives, none of that
Nothing.
stuff.
And you don't ever put a lighter on it. Oh my God. No.
You're not
no.
a Big Green Egg snob, are you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right, there
I'm
you
a
go.
snob about everything.
Okay. Well, there's a right way to do something.
That's right.
wrong.
And
Okay.
and you can control the temperature on the egg.
Okay.
You try it on a Weber or something like
No,
that
it
one
don't
day.
work.
You can't
You
do
can't
that.
do it.
But the egg, you can control the temperature, and you pull that temperature down and open up that lid, and all that meat, whether it's pork or beef or fish, whatever, all is just luxuriating in all that smoke off of that charcoal.
I haven't eaten lunch yet, so I probably shouldn't ask that question. Well, what's your favorite type of fish to eat? Is it walleye?
Walleye, absolutely.
And how would you cook it? What's the best way to
Just
cook
fried walleye.
it? Just fried walleye. Mm-hmm. Fish and chips, something like
Yep.
that.
Mm-hmm. Fried walleye. Well, everything is good with walleye. So whatever you want.
Is
you know.
that- is it-
mashed
it's
potatoes?
that good?
That's right. Grits and walleye. Oh,
Now, I hear that, Lanier's got some walleye and there's some other lakes. If you had to go catch a walleye in Georgia tomorrow, where would you try to go?
I would go up the Chestatee River around the full moon in February, and go to the last ramp. I don't know what the name of that ramp is on the Chestatee River, and you take an old boat, because you're not in the right spot if your boat is not bouncing off the rocks.
So you got to go up the river towards 400 some more. Is that
Way up.
almost where it goes under Highway 400 in Dahlonega?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as you can go by motor.
Okay.
And you use live bait or night crawlers or something like that. But you have to be good enough and know the river good enough so that you can get back to the ramp in the dark.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to bite till the last hour of the day. But I'm not talking about walleye. I'm talking about walleye.
Arm's length walleye.
Yeah, because they go up there to spawn in February.
That's also okay. That's some good info right there.
And after the February spawn, they go back down into the lake, and they're all at 45 or 50 feet. And you'll catch one by accident. But they're there.
Okay, so what does
Now.
Yeah. Go ahead, because you had something else to add to that. So
No, just be careful. But you're going to catch Be aware of the limits because you can far exceed the limit at Lake Lanier on the Chestatee River.
Okay, what is that?
I don't even know.
Okay. But it's that good. It's worth that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the closest place for you to go to catch walleye.
Okay. Any other
in
place
Georgia.
for somebody that
there
doesn't-
might be some other, you might be able to catch them up in Blue Ridge. Well, you can catch them in Blue Ridge. Go up the river at night.
Same time of year?
Yeah, and then the early spring at night. You got to
Okay.
want to do it now, because it gets to be about 2:00 in the morning. You're saying, "Whose idea was this?"
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's great. That's a bucket list thing, of course, like that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it at Walmart the other night, so you can't buy a walleye in Walmart. So it's something you really got to go out and do.
You bet.
What would be the one thing about fishing now, or anything, perception or anything, that if you could change one thing about the sport, what would you change, given your experience and what you've seen over the years?
I wouldn't change a thing. You got high school teams, college teams, multi teams. I just wish that there would be more evidence of father and son.
Okay, so
doing it
getting
together.
that
That's all.
family,
Yeah.
the family atmosphere and all that.
It broke my heart. I did a seminar at a middle school, and they announced the seminar at the middle school. Come in a half an hour early because O'Neill's going to be here, and we're going to talk about fishing. And the room was full of people, and I was asking, "What was your experience, Jimmy? When's the last time you went?" And then I got to a couple of kids who have never been fishing, and that was a heartbreaker.
I bet it was.
But the only thing I would change is that we have more intellectual pursuits with regards to fishing, because too many people do not appreciate the role that the hunter and the fisherman plays in conservation and the outdoors.
Yes, absolutely.
And we should. That's usually when I go to a QDMA convention or whatever, that is my story. You don't need to hear another fishing story from O'Neill. I mean, they're all the same.
Right.
But you need to understand, I need to recruit you. I don't need you, but the audience. I need to recruit the audience to be able to respond when someone says, "I don't understand how you kill these animals." All right, if you'll stand there just a minute, I'll tell you how it works. With the Robertson-Pittman Act, and the taxes on rods and reels, lures, line, camping gear, permits, licenses, tags, we are the reason that there's money spent for conservation and wildlife management in this country. It's likely that there are more white-tailed deer in the United States right now than when Columbus landed. Why? Because of the Robertson-Pittman Act, the Wildlife Restoration Act. I can tell you what not to do. Ready?
Let's go.
I was at a sponsor cocktail party, we'll call it that. And very upscale. I appreciated being invited. I even had on a tie. And
Must have been really
that's right,
important.
it was
There
really
you go.
good. And I had some Blood Oath number 5. It was, straight up. And I was on my second one, because a lady, it got around the room. It wasn't a stadium full, but it got around the room there for a little bit. What I do for a living, and I'm not in the middle of the room. I'd rather stand over to the side, quite frankly. And if you want to talk about that, I'll be happy to. I'll be flattered. Okay, but a woman walked up to me, 5'3" tall, 55 years old, nice little black dress, hair in a bun, and a glass of Chardonnay. And she got right in my face. It was confrontational, and I could tell. And she said, "Are you?" Yeah, I am. Yeah. "I don't understand how you shoot those beautiful birds." I said, "If you keep it arm up and swing, you can hit them too." Now that's the wrong answer.
Right, don't do that. That would be like what I would say.
Yeah, well.
Or if she say why, I'd say they taste good.
Yeah,
something like that.
people say, I don't understand how you shoot Bambi. Bambi's a cartoon character.
Exactly.
There is no bunny rabbit named Thumper that says hello to you when you go out in the woods.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
People need to understand. If you can get them to listen and understand, then they will appreciate the role of the hunter and the fisherman and the outdoorsman and the camper in the outdoors. This is the greatest country on earth for lots of reasons, and one of them is how we handle conservation.
Right. Yeah, and they have to have a lot. They have to be one of those that will think logically with you too. Because some of them you just
some
not
are not
going to
listen no matter what, and that's how you
That's how you get those.
keep your arms up, and swing,
Swing. Oh Lord.
hold on to the forestock. You know.
I got you. I got you. All right, that's great. I want to cover a couple things.
Okay.
Before we go, I want people to know this, and I want you to I'm going to read something. And tell me what it means to you.
Okay.
No, that's it.
All right.
Legends of the Outdoors Hall of Fame, 2015 inductee.
That was a surprise.
Okay.
That was an organization that's. They called me and said, "Guess what? You're one of the legends of the outdoors, and we'd like to induct you into that." And I'm flattered, and it's got some really good folks in there, and if they equate that with O'Neill and we're all in the same level, then I'm eternally flattered. Legends of the outdoors.
Legends of the outdoors. All right, this one you got pretty quick. International Game Fish Hall of Fame as a legendary communicator in 1991.
Yeah, how about that?
So you was good off the when you started. It was like, this
evidently,
guy's good.
I had a friend or something.
But I mean that's you hadn't been doing it that long.
That is correct. And that's
amongst all of it.
That and this is things like this is what billionaires. Part of some of the things that billionaires should do with their money, and that's at the Game Fish Hall of Fame in Pompano, or Palm Beach, or Pompano, Florida, west, or whatever. And I just got a call one day.
South of here.
Yeah, south. And I said, "You're in the Hall of Fame." So
all right,
and so Johnny Morris built that.
Okay, is that?
It's okay. Johnny Morris. He finances a lot of stuff. Great story about Johnny. Ready?
Let's go. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Johnny Morris's dad owned a convenience store and a liquor store in Springfield, Missouri. Johnny was 18, 19 years old. He wanted to be a professional fisherman. But back then, and he's not my age yet, but back then, it was in Springfield, Missouri, there were no big tackle shops,
right,
that you could get first-class gear. So he got a trailer and went around the region collecting up the best of the best. And he went back to his dad's place. It was prearranged, and his dad gave him 8 feet of counter space at the Little Brown Jug liquor store or Little Brown Jug convenience store. And that's how he started.
Bass Pro Shop.
Bass Pro Shop. Now he's the largest sporting goods retailer in the world.
Started with just 8 foot of counter space. Ain't that something?
You bet.
It's that story or whatever, journey of a million, whatever. Stops one step.
One step.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's
crazy. A nice guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. And I like his stories.
He's a nice guy. Sure is.
I like his stories. Here's one that's pretty close. Georgia Hunting and Fishing Hall of Fame inductee, 2015.
That's the outdoor writers thing.
Is that the outdoor writers thing?
Yeah, I believe so.
So you're a member of that?
Yes.
I got an application right there.
Okay.
Sturdivant. I talked to Ken.
Oh, did you?
I talked to Ken a couple weeks ago. He goes, "You got to get into that. Your podcasters can become members now."
Yeah, need to be member. Yeah, the Outdoor Writers Association, and that's something that they give.
And that's a pretty cool thing.
Georgia Hunting and Fishing Hall of Fame. Is that what it said?
Yep, Georgia Hunting and Fishing Hall of Fame, and then your National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame.
Right, that's in Minnesota.
So they got a Southern boy up there.
Yeah, it's unusual, really. Yeah, we have grits in the morning and not potatoes.
Henry doesn't eat grits.
I know it. It's a shame. A guy asked me the other day if you put sugar on them. I slapped him right across the face.
And for those of you that don't know Henry that I'm talking about, Henry is Hank the Yank.
Yes.
That does the trout fishing, fly fishing.
He calls in about fly fishing on the radio show on Saturday mornings.
So, and he is a friend of our show as well.
Yes.
So he's
awfully nice fellow.
He
Born in Brooklyn, and
he's a Yankee. I mean, just
100%. Yeah, 100%. But he's as nice a fellow as you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I believe that 100%.
Absolutely.
And this last one, this one's pretty cool.
Oh, it's scary.
Georgia Radio Hall of Fame, 2018. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, that was, all of them very flattering. That was a surprise also. A matter of fact, I was told that live on the radio show one morning. WSB called the radio show and said, I've got a surprise for you. You're in the Georgia Radio Hall of Fame. And, of course, my first question is there money involved?
Yeah.
And there's not.
There's not.
No.
We got a nice plaque for you.
That's right. And I got to go eat dinner.
You got dinner. They did feed you.
They fed me and Gail, a Woman Williams, down in LaGrange, Georgia.
Oh,
but
LaGrange.
I did get to meet Sean Hannity that night.
Is that where it's at, though, in LaGrange?
Yes.
I actually spent 2 years of my youth in LaGrange.
Oh, yeah?
So it must have been built after that, yeah.
Evidently.
My dad was actually in the grocery business. Big star down there in
Oh,
LaGrange.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think 78 through 80.
No kidding.
Yeah. I was down there when the big snowstorm come through LaGrange. They don't get them very often. So, that's a hell of a, bio right there in Hall of Fame,
Well,
man.
if you live long enough, you'll stack those things up.
Well, no, you got to be pretty good at what you do. I mean, so I know you're being modest right now, but there's a lot of people done a lot of things that don't have stuff like that.
Well, let me make a comment, please. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right, about this sort of thing. All these halls of fame and all that, and being recognized and compliments and everything. Let me tell you something. This is not heroic.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, if you smell smoke at 1:30 in the morning, you're not gonna call me. You hear glass break at the back door at 2. Let's call O'Neill. No, you're not.
Right.
You get chest pains? Let's call O'Neill and see what he says. No.
Right.
Those are heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Soldiers in Afghanistan. Those are heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Not this guy. He's just a guy who talks a lot.
Yeah, I understand completely. I understand completely, but you still can be a good role model.
Well,
even through talking like that.
Yeah, I've been married 55 years.
There you go. That's
got
right
a good education.
Yep.
My parents insisted upon that, and so there's a few things to be proud of, but it's not heroic.
I understand.
A baseball or football player, a rock musician, they are not heroes at all. So. Anyway,
I got what you're saying. I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm. Got great physical skills,
right?
But they're not heroes.
I got you. I got you. And the purpose of what people do things.
That's right. We attach heroism for unfounded talents.
Unfounded talents. I got you. Where are you going to go in the future? What's the plans for you here in the next year, 5 years?
Well, tonight I'm going to go eat barbecue.
Where are you going? At home?
Yeah.
You gonna cook it on a green egg, or is
it's on there now?
Is it on there now?
Yeah.
Is that why you was late?
Boston butt.
Well,
I started on it last night.
Okay, so that's what you're going.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So after supper,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to know about after supper. All right, next year, I mean, with your radio and all that. How long do you want to do that?
I would think. All right, I'm set. I'm 76 years old.
And for those that can't watch, you're in good shape. You look very good for 76 years old.
Well, thank you very much.
So I'm sure it was the bodybuilding back in the 80s.
Well, that had something to do with it, but I know a lot of people who work out. So
right.
My shape and what I look like is attributable to my parents. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay. I got you. I understood.
Where was I?
I was asking.
Okay, well, what are we going to do? The radio show will last a couple of more years at least. In 2021, my plans are right now, unless they change, is probably on television to have classic O'Neill outside shows. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'll do any more. But if I stay on television, and who knows the availability of media in 2 years, there may not be any television. Well, there's not any traditional television now.
It's changing so fast.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So in the next few years, the radio show, well, and if I continue the radio show, it's because other people make a living out of it.
Understood, yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But do you still enjoy it after all these years?
Oh, yeah, it's fun. I look. It's Friday. Oh, God.
I got to get up
I
early.
got to get up at 2:30 in the morning. but it's after I get started and get down there, and I have a wonderful engineer. Her name is Karen Green. Karen, we call her Gail named her Houston. Okay. As in Houston, we have a problem.
Houston, we have a problem. Yeah.
She's exceptional. She's won 2 Emmys for sound engineering. She's a private pilot. She is a professional jazz saxophonist.
Good Lord.
And she gets up every Saturday morning and edits and runs my show goes from our little cabin in the mountains to WSB Radio, down to Peachtree City to Karen's studio, Houston's studio, and then she sends it to Texas, and it goes worldwide from there. And she engineered all that.
So she's the brains in the operation.
Yeah. All I do is say, "Are we up yet?" Oh, can you hear me?
That's the same thing that happens here.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Well, let me know.
Just tell me what I got to do now. Tell me when I can start talking.
That's right.
Well, that is awesome. Well, I'll tell you what. I know, the word hero, you're right, gets thrown out too much, but it is very, very cool to actually get to sit and interview somebody that I have listened to for pretty much my entire adult life.
Well, thank you.
And I was not exaggerating when I said many a lonely trip from here to Wilkes County, has been spent listening to you, talk about the whitetail rut, or, if I was going out, I always knew from 4 to 6 where I could get something good to listen to. And I appreciate that.
Well,
I know there's a lot of people in our core group that listens to this, and I mean, you go out to 800,000 people. So
I have an audience of about 1 million every Saturday.
So I mean, I'm not the only one that will say that. So, but I am more appreciative than that you actually came down here and talked to us today.
It's my pleasure, 100%. And
it'd be a day I won't forget.
Me neither.
Thank you, buddy.
You bet. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Fish North Georgia podcast. If y'all have any topics or guests you'd like to see in the future, leave it in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, click that bell, so that you'll be notified of any future videos. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram at Fish North Georgia. And we look forward to seeing you soon.